YouTube? This is me, Dawei Lee Chu, aka the Fanatical for Jesus, aka David Chu, coming to you real quick with another mental health video. This topic is going to be about Christian counselors slash psychiatrists compared to secular counselors slash psychiatrists. Now keep in mind this list, like I'm listing all the pros of Christian counselors and psychiatrists and all the cons of Christian counselors and psychiatrists, and in the same way I'm listing all the pros of secular counselors and psychiatrists and all the cons of secular counselors and psychiatrists. Now this isn't meant to be an exhaustive list. Of course, everybody's going to have different experiences with different counselors and psychiatrists. This is just based off of my own experience with both Christian counselors and secular counselors. So, if you have a different experience with these people, that's good for you. Like, I'm happy for you that you had a different experience. This is just my experience with Christian counselors and secular counselors. And keep in mind, I made sure I found an even, I made sure I evened it out, so there's just as many pros for Christian counselors as there are pros for secular counselors, and there's just as many cons for Christian counselors as there is secular counselors. So I'm not gonna say which one is better, or I'm not gonna say which one is better or which one is worse. Like, that's completely up to you, like who you want to see when it comes to Christian counselors or secular counselors. It's completely up to you. Whatever you feel is best for you to go to. Like, this is completely subjective. Like, when it comes to what kind of counselors work better for you. Although I would say that Nuthetic counselors are not like good for anyone. So if you're a Christian who's considering going to a Nuthetic counselor, I would highly suggest that you don't do that, because Nuthetic counselors are not good for you whatsoever. Anyway, so the first, I'm gonna name off all the pros for Christian counselors that I can think of, and I'm gonna name all the pros for secular counselors I can think of. Then I'm gonna go on to the cons for both. So the first pro for Christian counselors slash psychiatrists is that if you're a Christian and you see a Christian counselor or psychiatrist, you're gonna have the same common core beliefs. Like, you're gonna have the same common core beliefs, and this is and that's always a good thing, because like, if you have the same beliefs as your counselor or psychiatrist, then you can talk about certain things that you can't really talk about with a secular counselor or a psychiatrist, like such as spiritual matters. So that's a good thing. Like, that's the number one, that's the best thing I can think of for Christian counselors and psychiatrists, is that you have the common core beliefs. The second pro is a more holistic approach. And when I say holistic, I'm not talking about what most people think of when they think of holistic. I'm talking about a Christian counselor, psychiatrist will more likely address the physical as long with the spiritual. Like, you won't really get that with a secular counselor or psychiatrist. They'll a Christian counselor or psychiatrist will address the spiritual along with the physical, and that's, like, for a Christian, that's a good thing, because as Christians we need to realize that we're not just a single entity. Like, we yes, we're a body, but we're also a soul, and we need to treat both our body and our soul together. The next one was, you can talk about spiritual issues. I mentioned this in the first. This goes with the common core beliefs. You can talk about spiritual issues. Like, if you go to a Christian counselor or psychiatrist, you can talk about your guilt because of your sin. You can talk about different spiritual issues, and they'll be more apt to listen to what you have to say, and they'll help you out where you're at spiritually. Now, some of the pros for secular counselors or psychiatrists. The first one is they have a better understanding of mental health. I mean, I hate to say it, but it does seem to be the case that secular counselors or psychiatrists do have a better understanding of mental health, and they'll more likely be able to help you out with the mental part of your mental illness. But like, yeah, they won't be able to address the spiritual side of your mental illness, but they'll definitely understand your mental illness better than a Christian counselor or psychiatrist, and they'll better be able to address the physical aspect of your mental illness. Um, the next one was better understanding of medication, and that's another thing. Like a lot of Christian counselors and psychiatrists don't have a good understanding of medication, whereas a secular counselor or psychiatrist will have a better understanding of your meds, and they'll know what meds to give you, what meds not to give you, what meds to increase, what meds not to increase. But I mean, all that comes down to you gotta talk to your psychiatrist, whoever your psychiatrist is, whether they're Christian or not. You gotta talk to your psychiatrist and tell them exactly what's going on with you. Otherwise, no psychiatrist is gonna be able to help you out. But I have noticed that secular counselors and psychiatrists do have a better understanding of medication. And that's just my experience. Like, I mean, you might know a Christian counselor or psychiatrist that has a fairly decent idea, what medications are about. But from my experience, I've noticed that secular counselors and psychiatrists understand medication better than Christian ones. The other one is they'll have more realistic beliefs, and yeah, secular counselors and psychiatrists, their ideology will be more grounded on the physical. They won't tell you that you're demon oppressed or demon possessed or anything like that. They'll just give you the facts, like the cold hard facts of your mental illness. And sometimes that's what you need to hear. Sometimes you need to hear the cold hard facts about your mental illness. I know if I didn't have psychiatrists give me the cold hard facts, I probably wouldn't be treating my mental illness to this day. Like, I'd probably just be doing my own thing and getting worse and getting gradually worse as I got older. So, like, the secular psychiatrists and counselors will actually give you the cold hard facts about your mental illness. They'll tell you, look, this is the medication you need to take to help with this, and you gotta listen to what they say. Like, so just listen to what they say, and do what they say. Okay, now on to the cons of Christian counselors and psychiatrists. The first con is they have a lack of an understanding of mental illness. Like, what I know is a lot of Christian counselors and psychiatrists, they don't really understand mental illness all that well. So when they try and help you out, they're gonna help you out based on their ignorance, and like, that's not a good thing. You don't want a psychiatrist that's ignorant of mental illness trying to help you out, because if you have a psychiatrist that's ignorant of mental illness, then they're gonna end up making you worse than you than you originally were. So the best thing is to have a psychiatrist that knows what the hell they're talking about. Excuse my language. The next con is they don't understand medication, and I kind of addressed this like in the pro for secular counselors and psychiatrists, but this, like, I can't stress this enough. That's Christian counselors, they need to have a better education of medication, because I've noticed a lot of Christian counselors and psychiatrists, they're very ignorant when it comes to medication. And when you're dealing with something that's affecting your life, you need a doctor or a counselor that actually understands medication. Because I mean, this is affecting your life. This can, like if they overdose you, you could die on the medication. Like, or if they underdose you, then you could not get better at all. You won't be stable, and you'll just be going off the wall crazy all over the place. So you need a doctor or a counselor, whether it's Christian or not, to help you get the right medication that you need. And the third con is they may have nutty beliefs. Yes, I've seen Christian counselors and psychiatrists that'll tell you that you're demon oppressed or demon possessed, and really nutty, charismatic stuff like that. And that doesn't help you in your mental health whatsoever to hear these nutty beliefs. Like, I'm not saying all Christian counselors and psychiatrists have nutty beliefs, but a good number of them do have these nutty beliefs. Now, the con for secular counselors and psychiatrists, the first con is they share a different worldview than you. So you're not going to be able to discuss with them spiritual issues. You're not going to be able to talk to them about sin and stuff like that, guilt and stuff like that. You're just going to go in there, talk about your medication, and then leave. That's it. You're not going to really talk about spiritual issues. And because of that, you're not going to get a holistic treatment for your body and soul. You're just going to get the treatment for your body. So like that's the first con. I think that's the most important con of that's the most important strike against secular and counselors and psychiatrists. The next one is, I addressed this already. You can't talk about spiritual issues. Like that's an important con. Like, you can't talk about spiritual issues with your counselor or psychiatrist if they don't share the same worldview as you. And the third con is they could advise you. They could give you advice that goes against your Christian beliefs. That's a really big one right there. Your counselor or psychiatrist, if they don't share the same worldview as you, they could give you advice or instructions that go against your Christian beliefs. Like, they could tell you to do yoga or certain types of meditation that goes against a biblical worldview. Like, it's just not. You gotta be aware of that if you're a Christian that's going to see a secular counselor or psychiatrist. Anyway, so that's all my pros and cons for that. If you could think of any other pros and cons, let me know in the comment section below what y'all think. And I hope this helps you, like, in coming to a decision about what kind of counselor or psychiatrist you want to see. Yeah, like, I hope this helps you a lot. Like both sides, the Christian counselors and psychiatrists and the secular counselors and psychiatrists, both have, as you can see, they both have pros and cons to both sides. And I wouldn't say that either side is actually better than the other side. But whatever works best for you, that's what I would suggest you go to. If you feel more comfortable seeing a Christian counselor or psychiatrist, then see a Christian counselor or psychiatrist. But if you feel more comfortable seeing a secular counselor or psychiatrist, then go see a secular counselor or psychiatrist. Either way, do what's best for you, not what anybody else says is best for you. Anyway, so that's all I have to say. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to rate and subscribe. Alright, deuces.